breaking news here. A third batch of documents pertaining to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has just been released. We've been combing through this. Nate Boy has been helping us do so. He's live from our New York City newsroom. What are we learning here, Nate?
Hey, Sandra. So 29 documents were just released in the past hour, over 400 pages. We're going through it as quickly as we can. And once again, names in the Clinton family have come up. So, of course, these names coming out as part of a 2015 defamation lawsuit between Virginia Giuffre, one of the accusers who claims that she was sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's confidant. Names that were searched, or at least discussed to be searched, through Maxwell's phone as part of that defamation case include Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Prince Andrew, law.harvard.edu was one of the phrases to be searched through her phone, as well as Alan Dershowitz, the attorney. But the difference today, Hillary Clinton's name coming through, as we have seen former President Bill Clinton's name pop up each of the past 2 days. Another thing to note, Sandra, in one of the documents that was just released, there is essentially a message book that came out. It's handwritten notes for Jeffrey Epstein about who had called him. One of those notes reads, quote, "She had on the phone Mr. Harvey Weinstein." So we'll keep looking into that, as well as the rest, or as for the rest of the documents that we've had the chance to go through to this point. They explain through depositions a lot of the recruiting process for a lot of these young girls, some of them recruited by Virginia Giuffre's ex-boyfriend. Many of the girls described at Epstein's home under the age of 18, some of them from different countries. So right now, with these 29 documents being released, that makes 88 documents that have come out to this point. Giuffre's lawyers tell us that we can expect 240, and that process for those documents to be unsealed could stretch into Monday. But we'll keep going through this newest batch of documents, and we'll let you know what we find.
All right.
Welcome back to Harlan Reports, the only place where we tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I am your host, Harlan, and I am so glad you are here with us tonight. Folks, put down whatever you are doing. Call your family into the room. Text your neighbors, because what I am about to tell you changes everything. Today is December 30th, 2025. Remember this date. Write it down in your family Bible, because today is the day the shadows finally break and the light comes pouring in. We have breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C. that is so big, so heavy, and so important. My hands are shaking just holding these papers. The moment we have prayed for, the moment we have marched for, is finally here.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein? No. I think the evidence.
Well, we know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years. Contrast that with Donald Trump, who hasn't spoken to him in many years, over a decade, after he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago for bad behavior. So that's the difference there. And I think Americans see the two-tier justice system. But, you know, we don't know. They're saying Clinton has not been to his private island, but he has traveled all over the world with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know why AG Garland and the Justice Department are so quiet on this tonight. You know, they're out there labeling parents domestic terrorists, yet they're saying nothing about this. And these documents were so slow to come out. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar business in this country, and Jeffrey Epstein is dead, and Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for 20 years where she belongs. And if people in that report are still fighting to keep their names private, Sean, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant by some chance against some potential case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And I think Mark Garagos, as a great criminal defense attorney, will back that up as well.
Folks, I have looked into this camera and told you stories that made me angry, stories that made me sad, and stories that made me lose sleep. But tonight, I am looking at you with tears in my eyes because, for the first time in a long time, I feel something different. I feel relief. Pure washing relief. Attorney General Pam Bondi, God bless that woman for her courage, has just given the order. The final data set of the Jeffrey Epstein files has been released. These aren't just papers, friends. These are the answers to the prayers of every mother who hugged her child a little tighter at night. These are the voices of the voiceless, finally screaming out from the darkness. And let me tell you, the sound is deafening. Sources inside DC are telling us right now that the 42nd president, Bill Clinton, is in a state of absolute panic. We are hearing words like freaking out and tailspin. The political elites who thought they were untouchable, who thought they were better than you and me, are watching their walls crumble. For years, the media, those people who were supposed to protect us but instead protected the powerful, spent every waking hour burying one specific dark secret. They hid it deep. They mocked anyone who asked questions. They called us crazy. They called us conspiracy theorists. But look at us now. President Donald J. Trump, our 45th and now 47th president, promised us this. Do you remember? He stood on those rally stages, looking out at the sea of red hats and hopeful faces, and he promised he would drain the swamp. He promised he would protect our children. And tonight, he is keeping that promise in a way that history will never forget. He didn't have to do this. He could have played the game like everyone else, but he didn't. He stood tall. He authorized this release because he knows that truth is the only thing that can heal this nation. I'm getting messages from patriots all over the country right now. People are pulling over on the side of the highway to listen. Grandmothers are crying in their living rooms because deep down, we all knew something was wrong. We knew the system was rigged against good people. And seeing this happen, seeing the Department of Justice actually do justice, it breaks your heart in the most beautiful way. It makes you realize that America is still here. We are still a land of laws, not of kings. The fear in Bill Clinton's camp right now is the sound of justice coming home. And friends, we are just getting started.
Scott, don't you think that because they are not releasing everything that Congress and the president signed to say you have to release this in 30 days, doesn't it give more fodder for the conspiracies that exist? I mean, they're not following the law.
Well, look, they've released how many documents tonight? 200,000? More? 400?
10% of that.
Okay, so a good faith effort is being made to release files tonight.
Really?
They're obviously doing that. And I think as it relates to redactions, I mean, my impression is that there's a whole lot of names of victims in there and minors and other people that you probably wouldn't want to release, and they do need to be redacted. Regarding Bill Clinton, I'm sorry to tell you, the reason that Bill Clinton's picture is in the Epstein files is because this has always been a story about Bill Clinton and not Donald Trump. We should call it the Clinton files, not the Epstein files. That's what we're learning tonight. This is the Clinton files. This is the blowing up in the face of the Democrats over this. It's Bill Clinton. This is a story about Democrats and Bill Clinton, and it's always been that way.
Pictures of Donald.
We are just minutes into this broadcast, and I have to take a breath, folks. My producers are handing me more pages from this dataset as we speak, and what I am seeing makes my stomach turn. For decades, the mainstream media, those talking heads in their fancy suits, told us not to look. They told us Bill Clinton was just a friendly guy doing charity work. They told us those plane rides were innocent. They laughed at us when we asked questions. They called us names. But look at this now. The ink on these pages is drying, but the truth is burning bright. We aren't just talking about rumors anymore. We are looking at flight logs. We are looking at names, dates, and times. And right there, printed in black and white for the whole world to see, is the undeniable proof of the dark secret they fought so hard to bury. It's not just one trip. It's not just a mistake. It is a pattern. It is a lifestyle of the rich and powerful who thought they could use people like toys and then throw them away. It breaks my heart. It really does. Think about the years we spent trusting these people to run our country. Think about the speeches they gave about values and family. It was all a mask. And tonight, thanks to President Trump and Attorney General Bondi, that mask has been ripped off. We are seeing reports of photos, pictures of the former president relaxing in places no decent man should be, with people no decent man should know. It makes you wonder, how did they sleep at night? How did they look into the cameras and lie to the American people for so long? But then I think about our president. I think about Donald Trump. While the media was busy covering up for Clinton, they were busy attacking Trump. They threw everything at him. Fake investigations, hoaxes, lies, and yet, look at what these files show. When Trump found out who Epstein really was, he didn't join the party. He kicked him out. He banned him from Mar-a-Lago. He stood up for the girls. He stood up for decency. That brings tears to my eyes, folks, because it shows us that we picked the right man. We picked a fighter who wasn't afraid to stand alone against the darkness. The panic we are hearing about from Clinton's camp. That is the sound of evil realizing that good has finally won. And for the first time in a long time, the good guys are in charge. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine all those times you sat at your kitchen table, looking at bills you couldn't pay, wondering why the world felt so unfair. Imagine all the times you turned on the news and saw powerful politicians laughing, shaking hands, and living lives that seemed totally disconnected from reality. You knew, deep down in your gut, that they were hiding something. You knew they were playing by a different set of rules, and it hurt. It felt like a betrayal. Now, open your eyes and look at what is happening today. This isn't just about documents. This is about validation. It's about being told you were right. I'm seeing reports coming in from real Americans across the country, and the emotion is raw. I just got a message from a veteran in Pennsylvania. He said, "Harlan, for years I felt like my service didn't matter to these people. They used us as props. But seeing Trump go after the untouchables, that makes me proud to have worn the uniform." Do you hear that? That is the sound of dignity being restored. The mainstream media spent years telling us that we were the problem. They told us that demanding the truth was dangerous. They tried to shame us into silence. But President Trump, he never shamed us. He listened. He saw the same corruption we did, and he decided to fight back. And let me tell you, watching Bill Clinton panic right now isn't about revenge. It's about justice. It's about the fact that for the first time in history, the scales are finally balancing out. Think about the victims. Think about the young lives that were stolen while the powerful looked the other way. Today, those victims are finally being heard. Their stories are no longer hidden in a dataset, locked away in a vault. They are out in the open. And the man responsible for bringing them into the light isn't a career politician who owes favors to the elite. It's Donald Trump, a man who didn't need this job, but took it because he loves this country too much to let it rot. This is what America First truly means. It means putting truth above power. It means protecting the vulnerable from the predators. It means that no matter how big your name is, or how many times you've been president, you answer to the people. And folks, the people are finally getting their answers. Friends, I want to talk to you about what is happening outside of this studio right now. If you flip the channel, and I know you won't, because you know where the truth lives, but if you did, you would see something strange. You would see silence. You would see the big networks, the ones who claim to know everything, stumbling over their words. They don't know how to spin this. They don't know how to protect their friends anymore, because the truth is just too big to hide. For years, they built a fortress around these powerful people. They built walls made of lies and distraction. They told us to look over here while they did terrible things over there. But today, President Trump took a sledgehammer to those walls. And watching them crumble is the most satisfying thing I have ever seen. I just received a text from a steelworker in Ohio. He's a big guy, tough as nails, works 12 hours a day to feed his family. He told me, "Harlan, I'm sitting in my truck on my lunch break, and I'm crying like a baby." Why? Because for the first time in his life, he sees that the bad guys don't win in the end. He sees that money and power can't save you when the truth comes knocking. He told me, "I always told my kids that if you do good, good comes back to you. And if you do bad, you pay the price." Today, I can finally look them in the eye and tell them it's true. That's what this is about. It's about restoring the soul of our nation. It's about every parent who taught their kids right from wrong, only to watch the leaders of this country do wrong and get rewarded for it. That stops today. I look at the panic coming from the Clinton camp, and I don't see a former president. I see a man who realizes the game is over. He realizes that the dark secret, the one thing he thought would never, ever come out, is now flashing across screens all over the world. And who made that happen? Not the media, not the career politicians. It was Donald Trump. He stood alone in the storm so that we could see the sun. He took the arrows so we could have the truth. And my friends, the sun is shining brighter than it has in a very long time. Stay tuned, because what I'm about to share next will show you exactly why they are so afraid. You know, folks, for a long time, there was a phrase in Washington that made my blood boil. They used to talk about the forgotten man and the forgotten woman. They said it like a slogan, but they didn't mean it. To them, we were just numbers. We were just votes to be harvested every 4 years and then ignored while they went back to their cocktail parties and their private jets. They thought we didn't matter. They thought they could hurt our children, sell out our jobs, and laugh all the way to the bank. But they forgot one thing. They forgot that God watches, and they forgot that eventually, a leader would rise up who actually loved this country more than he loved himself. I am looking at these files, and I am seeing the names of people who were supposed to be our leaders. And then I look at the actions of President Trump. Do you realize what he has done today? He hasn't just released documents. He has placed a shield over every innocent child in America. He has taken a sword to the darkness that has plagued this capital for decades. I'm thinking about a grandmother I met on the campaign trail in 2024. She grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her face, and she said, "Harlan, I just want a world where the bad guys don't get away with it anymore." I wish I could call her right now. I wish I could tell her, "Ma'am, turn on your TV, the bad guys are running scared." Bill Clinton isn't just freaking out because he's embarrassed. He is freaking out because the protection he had, the media, the donors, the old boys club is gone. President Trump shattered it. He looked at the system that protected monsters and said, "Not on my watch." This is emotional for me, folks, because we are watching history change in real time. We are watching the moment where the little guy finally wins. The elites had their islands. They had their secret planes, but we have Donald Trump, and more importantly, we have the truth. And let me tell you, the truth is a powerful thing. It cuts through the money. It cuts through the lies. And right now, it is cutting through the silence that Bill Clinton hoped would last forever. But the silence is broken. The roar of justice is here, and it is beautiful. I want to pivot for a moment from the panic in DC to the peace I am feeling right here in my heart. And I know you are feeling it too. I'm looking at the comments rolling in on our live feed, and it's like a dam has broken. But this time, it's not a dam of secrets. It's a dam of hope. I see a message here from Sarah in Michigan. She says, "Harlan, my sister was a victim of a system that didn't care. She was ignored by police, ignored by the courts. She lost hope, but today, seeing President Trump force this truth out, it feels like someone finally stood up for her." Sarah, if you are watching, I want you to know that your president hears you. He sees you. This is why he fights. This is why he takes the slings and arrows every single day. He doesn't do it for the applause of the media. He does it for your sister. He does it for the thousands of girls whose names we may never know, but whose lives matter to God and to this administration. For years, we were told that justice was only for the rich. If you had the right last name, if you went to the right parties, you were untouchable. But look at what is happening today. The untouchables are shaking in their boots. Why? Because a billionaire from Queens, a man the elites mocked and hated, decided to become the voice of the voiceless. He decided to use his power not to hide the truth, but to reveal it. This is what Make America Great Again is really about. It's not just a slogan on a hat. It is a promise that in this country, the weak are protected and the wicked are punished. It is a return to the moral clarity that made this nation the envy of the world. And as I read these pages, as I see the depth of the corruption that Bill Clinton and his circle were involved in, I don't feel despair. I feel a fierce, burning pride. Because we have a leader who is strong enough to clean it up. We have a leader who walked into the darkness and turned on the lights. And for the first time in a long time, the shadows have nowhere left to hide. You know, there are days in history that feel heavy, like a storm cloud hanging over your head. And then there are days like today, days where the air feels cleaner, days where you can take a deep breath and I feel like the weight of the world has been lifted off your shoulders. I'm looking at the monitors here in the studio, and I'm seeing something I haven't seen in 30 years of broadcasting. It's not just anger. It's not just shock. It is a tidal wave of relief washing over this entire country. The news about Bill Clinton and these files isn't just staying in Washington. It is moving like a wildfire across the heartland. It's being talked about in diners in Iowa. It's being whispered in church pews in Georgia. It's on the assembly lines in Michigan. Why? Because for the first time, the people realize that the rules for thee, but not for me game is over. I want to share something personal. A few minutes ago, during the break, I got a call from an old friend of mine. He's a farmer in Nebraska, a man of few words. He's tough. He's seen droughts, he's seen floods, and he never complains. But today, his voice was shaking. He told me, "Harlan, I'm sitting on my tractor, looking at my fields, and I'm crying. I always told my boys that the truth wins in the end. For a long time, I thought I was lying to them. But today, thanks to President Trump, I know I was right." That's what this is about, patriots. It's about restoring the moral foundation of America. It's about being able to look your children in the eye and tell them that justice isn't just a word in a textbook. It's real, and it's here. The panic we are hearing about from the Clinton camp. It's not just about one man being afraid of getting caught. It's the sound of an entire corrupt system realizing that their time is up. They thought they could outlast us. They thought they could outspend us. They thought they could destroy Donald Trump. But they forgot one thing. You cannot destroy the truth. And you certainly cannot destroy a leader who fights with the armor of God. President Trump stood in the gap for us. He took the heat, the insults, and the attack so that a farmer in Nebraska could weep tears of joy today. That is what love for your country looks like. And that is why we are winning. I want you to take a moment and look around your living room. Look at the faces of the people you love. Maybe your kids are playing on the floor. Or maybe your spouse is sitting next to you, holding your hand. For a long time, we carried a heavy weight for them. We worried about what kind of country we were leaving behind. We worried that the shadows were getting too long, that the corruption was too deep, and that the bad guys had simply won. It was a scary feeling, wasn't it? It felt like we were shouting into a void and no one was listening. But tonight, I want you to let that weight drop. Just let it go, because the news coming out of Washington right now proves that the void is gone. The silence has been filled with the roar of truth. I'm hearing from sources that Bill Clinton is frantically making calls. He's reaching out to old favors, trying to pull strings that used to work. But guess what? Nobody is picking up. The phone lines are ringing in empty offices. The old boys network that protected him for decades has shattered into a million pieces. Why? Because they know what we know. The spell is broken. The fear they used to control this town has evaporated. President Trump didn't just sign a law. He didn't just release a data set. He walked into the middle of the swamp, looked the monsters in the eye, and said, "Your time is up." He showed us that they are not invincible. They are just men, scared, small men who hid behind lies. And now that the lies are gone, there is nothing left to protect them. I have a letter here in my hand from a grandfather in Florida. He wrote to me just minutes ago. He said, "Harlan, I'm 85 years old. I've seen wars. I've seen peace. I've seen good presidents and bad ones. I honestly thought I would leave this earth before I saw real justice. But today, watching this happen, I am weeping with joy. I can finally rest easy, knowing that my grandkids have a fighter in the White House who actually protects them." That right there, that is what this is all about. It's not about politics, it's about peace of mind. It's about knowing that when we say the Pledge of Allegiance, justice for all finally means all. Not just for the poor, not just for the unconnected, but for the powerful too. The dark secret is out. Folks, the light is here, and for the first time in my life, I can honestly say that the good guys aren't just fighting back. They are winning. And they are winning big. We are nearing the end of our time together tonight, but I cannot let you go without talking about the man who made this possible. I want you to think back to the rallies. Think back to the thousands of people standing in the rain, the snow and the heat just to catch a glimpse of Donald Trump. The critics laughed. They called it a cult. They said we were foolish to put our faith in a billionaire from New York. But they didn't understand. They didn't see what we saw. We saw a man who didn't need the money. We saw a man who didn't need the fame. We saw a man who could have spent his golden years playing golf at Mar-a-Lago, surrounded by luxury, but instead, he chose to walk through the fire. He chose to be investigated, impeached, indicted, and attacked every single day. Why? Why would anyone do that? Tonight, we have the answer. He did it for this moment. He did it so that on a Tuesday in December, a mother in Ohio could look at her daughter and say, "The bad men can't hurt you anymore." He did it so that the dark secret of the Clintons and the Epsteins of the world would finally be dragged into the sunlight. I'm looking at a photo that just came across my desk. It's an old picture of President Trump holding his granddaughter. You can see the love in his eyes. It's the same love he has for this country. He treats America like his own family. And just like a father would do anything to protect his children. President Trump has done everything to protect us. Today, he kept the biggest promise of all. He promised to drain the swamp, and folks, the plug has been pulled. The water is draining fast, and the creatures at the bottom are being exposed for exactly what they are. It makes me emotional to think about how close we came to losing it all. If the other side had won, these files would have been burned. The truth would have been buried forever. But because you stood up, because you voted, because you prayed, we are here. We are witnessing the triumph of good over evil. And at the center of it all stands one man, battered but unbowed, still fighting for you. President Donald J. Trump, the promise keeper, the protector, the leader we deserved all along. As we come to the end of this broadcast, I want to leave you with a picture in your mind. I want you to imagine the sun coming up tomorrow morning. It's going to rise over the cornfields of Iowa, over the mountains of Colorado, and over the skyscrapers of New York City. But tomorrow, that light is going to feel different. It is going to feel warmer. It is going to feel cleaner. Because for the first time in generations, the dark cloud of corruption that hovered over our capital has been blown away. We have witnessed history today, my friends. We have watched the dark secret crumble and the truth rise up. We have watched a president, our president, Donald J. Trump, stand tall against the storm and deliver a victory for every single American family. I know many of you have cried tears of pain over the years, worrying about the future of this great nation. But tonight, let those tears turn into tears of joy. Let them water the seeds of a new beginning, because what we are seeing is the return of the America we love, an America where honor matters, an America where the innocent are safe, an America where the president works for you. Go hug your children tonight. Tuck them into bed and whisper to them that they are growing up in a country that is healing. Tell them that the bad guys lost and the good guys won. Tell them that thanks to President Trump, their future is bright, beautiful, and free. We are just getting started. Folks, the swamp is draining, but there is still work to do, and we are going to do it together. I will be right here with you, every step of the way, shining the light on the truth that the mainstream media tries to hide. We are a family, you and I. We are the heartbeat of this nation, and nothing can stop a heartbeat this strong. Please, before you go, do me a huge favor. If you felt the hope in this broadcast, if you are proud of President Trump, hit that subscribe button right now. Ring the bell so you never miss a moment of the truth. Give this video a like and share it with everyone you know. Let's show the world that we are awake, we are united, and we are not going anywhere. Thank you for trusting me with your time tonight. Keep the faith, keep fighting, and hold your heads high. God bless you. God bless President Donald J. Trump, and God bless the greatest country on God's green earth, the United States of America. This is Harlan signing off. We won, folks, we finally won.